Ready, Dustin? Call this meeting to order. I'll ask Lyman if you'll lead us in prayer.
May we pray. Dear Heavenly Father, I want to say thank you for giving us another opportunity to call on your holy and divine name. Lord, as we conduct county business, please give us the wisdom, knowledge, and understanding. We pray for people that's in bereavement, people that's in the military, people that's going through this COVID right now. And we pray for the the unrest that we have socially in our country right now. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Now I'm going to ask for the roll call.
Mike Folks. Here. Tracy McDaniel. Here. Tim Spencer.
Here.
Ray Little. Here. Lyman Dawkins. Here. David Smith. Here.
Do I hear a motion to adopt the agenda? Second. Ask for the roll call.
Yes. Oh, yes, sir. I'm sorry.
Let's see. We will put you want to go at the end or you want to go before executive session? Okay. We'll put you after executive session. Do I hear a motion for the amendment with Mr. Smith being added? Second. Motion and a second. I'm going to ask for the roll call.
Mike Folks. Tracy McDaniel. Yay. Tim Spencer.
Yay.
Okay.
Lyman Dawkins. David Smith.
Next is the approval of the minutes from regular meeting on July 6, 2020. Do I hear a motion? Motion and a second. I'm going to ask for the roll call.
Mike Folks. Tracy McDaniel. Yay. Tim Spencer.
Here. Yay.
Ray Little. Yay. Lyman Dawkins.
Yay.
David Smith.
Yay.
Next is the approval of claims for Cherokee County in the amount of $561,045.94. Do I hear a motion?
So move. Second.
Motion and a second. I'm going to ask for the roll call.
Mike Folks. Yay. Tracy McDaniel.
Yay.
Tim Spencer.
Yay.
Ray Little. Yay. Lyman Dawkins. Yay. David Smith.
Next is a public hearing. I'm going to open the floor for the first ordinance, which is 2020-16, authorizing and improving development of a new joint county industrial business park, Nestle Prepared Foods Company, pursuant to Section 4-1-170 of the Code of Laws of South Carolina 1976 as amended. In conjunction with Spartanburg County, such park to be geographically located in Cherokee County and include the aforementioned project, the execution and delivery of a written park agreement with Spartanburg County as to the requirement of payments of fee in lieu of ad valorem taxes with respect to the park's property and the sharing of all the revenues and expenses of the park, the distribution of revenues from the park to counties and relevant taxing entities and other matters relating thereto. If no one is to speak, I will close the floor. The next is a public hearing for ordinance 2020-17, authorizing and improving the development of a new joint county industrial and business park, Old Castle South Incorporated, pursuant to Section 4-1-170 of the Code of Laws of South Carolina 1976 as amended. In conjunction with Spartanburg County, such park to be geographically located in Cherokee County and include the aforementioned project, the execution and delivery of a written park agreement with Spartanburg County as to the requirement of payments of fee in lieu of ad valorem taxes with respect to the park property and the sharing of revenues and expenses of the park, the distribution of revenues from the park to the counties, relevant taxing entities, and other matters related thereto. Anyone here to speak? If not, the floor is closed. Next is a petition to remove a road from the county system. I guess Mr. Bratton.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Got in front of me tonight a petition that we've received to remove a portion of Scruggs Trail from the county road system. It is at the end of a road. It is I have the two parcel numbers. The addresses are 337 Scruggs Trail, and I believe a portion of 326 Scruggs Trail, which is vacant land and residential property at the end of the road. The owners have petitioned to have that removed from our system, and I'm bringing that before you all tonight as a recommendation that we allow them to do so.
Second.
Motion and a second. Is there any discussion? I'm going to add, Joe, you looked this over. Everything's,
I have not looked it over. I will tell you from the past, in times past when we had this issue come up, what you are doing is allowing them, if you approve the action to close the road, that does not address title to the road. There is a state statute that elaborates on the procedure to go through the courts to have an adjudication made as to ownership of that roadway. That would be up to the landowner to take that action. But this is simply, if it's not any different than what you've done in the past.
It's not.
You're basically, they're asking you to stop maintaining it between their properties.
The right-of-way is still there, but what they've asked us to do is stop maintaining it, Mr. Little. It's what the council's done in the past historically.
okay. I just want to make sure we're clear on that.
Yes, sir.
Is there any other discussion? With that, I'll ask for the roll call.
Oates. Tracy McDaniel. Tim Spencer.
Yay.
Ray Little. Lyman Dawkins. David Smith.
All right, next is ordinances. Third reading of ordinance 2020-16, authorizing and approving the development of a joint county industrial business park, Nestle Prepared Foods, pursuant to section 4-1-170 of the Code of Laws 1976 as amended, in conjunction with Spartanburg County, the park, such park to be geographically located in Cherokee County and include the aforementioned project. The execution and delivery of a written agreement with Spartanburg County to the requirements of payment of fee in lieu of ad valorem taxes with respect to the park property and sharing of the revenues and expenses of the park, the distribution of revenues from the park to counties and relevant taxing entities, and other matters relating thereto. Do I hear a motion? We have a motion and a second. I'm going to ask, or is there any discussion on this ordinance? With that, I'll ask for the roll call.
Oates. Tracy McDaniel. Tim Spencer.
Yay.
Ray Little. Lyman Dawkins. David Smith.
Next is another ordinance, third reading of ordinance 2020-17, authorizing and approving the development of a joint county industrial and business park, Old Castle South Incorporated, pursuant to section 4-1-170 of the Code of Laws, South Carolina Code of Laws 1976 as amended, in conjunction with Spartanburg County, the park, such park to be geographically located in Cherokee County and to include the aforementioned project, the execution and delivery of a written park agreement with Spartanburg County as to the requirements of payment of fee in lieu of ad valorem taxes with respect to the park property and the sharing of revenues and expenses of the park, the distribution of revenues from the park to counties and relevant taxing entities, and other matters relating thereto. Do I hear a motion?
Second.
Motion and a second. Is there any discussion? With that, I'll ask for the roll call.
Oates. Tracy McDaniel. Tim Spencer.
Yay.
Ray Little. Lyman Dawkins. David Smith.
Next, we will hear from our attorney, Joe Mathis.
No report, Mr. Chairman.
Next is an action item, Public Works Design Change Order. I guess Mr. Bratton.
Yes, sir. At our last meeting, we discussed this regarding the water line upgrade that is needed along Lemuel Road in order to facilitate the fire suppression that will be needed at our public works facilities. I have had a call with our architects and our engineers. They've been working to answer the questions that the council had. They have come back to me with an updated change order, which is a smaller amount. The total amount of the fee that's being adjusted is $39,000. down from, I believe, was just over 43,000 at the last meeting, and they agreed with what my proposal was, which was to come up from Wilcox on Lemuel just to, with the 6-inch line, just to where our last building will be on the right. And there's some other questions regarding whether and how to tie that into the 3-inch line that currently runs on Lemuel to make sure that it is, if that is possible, so that it loops. And they are taking a look at that as they do the design, and I've told them that that is our desire if it works the best. But they're going to get back with me. That will not change this particular piece. That will simply change how they tie it in. So they are looking at that and working with Grassy Pond Water on that. But as of right now, this is ready to go. And once we get this change order signed, then we will be able to give them the green light to go ahead on that design phase and the engineering. So what I'm asking you all for is to approve this design change notice of $39,000 for our architect.
I move. Well, we have a motion and a second pretty fast. Do we have any discussion?
Mr. Bratton, does that include Councilman Little was discussing last week with the tie-in?
I think that's the part that they're going to study when they do the engineering is to how to connect that to there's currently a 3-inch line. Their first proposal to me was to put a 6-inch line basically running alongside that 3-inch line that would stop. But what I've asked them, which I think Mr. Little brought up, was the possibility of tying our 6-inch line into that 3-inch line, and so that it forms a loop, which would be looping from Wilcox up Lemuel, then down Concord and back down Highway 18. That would be the loop that would be in place if we did that. I expressed to them our questions about that because or else what you're going to have is a 6-inch line that is for nothing but fire suppression. And that water becomes stagnant. It can affect water quality and so forth. But they're looking at both possibilities to see which one will be the best for us to do. But in order for them to do that, they've got to do the engineering, and they won't do the engineering until we approve this. So they're aware of that concern. I've expressed that to them, so they are working on that.
Any further discussion? With that, I'll ask for the roll call.
Mike Foltz. Tracy McDaniel. Tim Spencer.
Yay.
Ray Little. Dawkins. David Smith.
Next is the bid opening. Do you have 3 different ones?
Yes, sir.
We'll start with 2020. The clerk of court.
And that's we've got a lot of responses on that one, so bear with me. What this
Are
is,
these all budgeted items?
this is actually funded from the clerk of court, some of her restricted money that she's
Okay.
utilizing. So that's what this is, Mr. Chairman. What she's doing is scanning some of her old records into electronic format. This first one is from ImageNet LLC. ImageNet LLC. And it's scanned, gentlemen, on, you scan by page, then there's a charge for indexing, and then there's a charge for shredding, because once it's held for so long, she can shred those documents. So we've got 3 different prices. I'm going to open these, and then what we're going to do is I'll go back and get with the clerk. I think is going to be our best bet to analyze what we've got, because there's not a lump sum number here. It's based on a per page bid. If
So
you
you're
all
just
are-
going to open them? You
I'm
don't
just
have
gonna
to.
open them
Yeah, you
and
don't have to
tell you who
do.
they are, and then we're
That'll
going to
work.
have to come back to you on that.
That'll work.
Advanced Imaging Systems. call them out actually and open them, and then I'll go through them. Edge Digital Group.
What you got?
About 9 or 10. Rapid Legal Support Services. All Pro Solutions, Inc. Palmetto Microfilm Systems. Rise Business Services. Scanning America. Global Solutions Group. Scans America, all one word. Obviously, there's a lot of scanning companies. Records Reduction, Inc. Disc Writer, Inc. So what we'll do is we will take those back, and I'll get with the clerk and we will evaluate those. We'll put those on a spreadsheet to where we can compare apples to apples, and we'll come back to council at the next meeting with a recommendation for your approval, if that's okay.
Unless y'all want to put it in the judicial committee. What you call?
No, I think we do it as a council. Once he has to talk to the clerk, be good.
Okay. Is that, okay. Do we need a motion on that, or?
I don't know that you need a motion, you're gonna take it back to the administrator, who's gonna make the spreadsheet, and come back to you. And then
Give the recommendation. Okay. All right.
Next item is, if I can go ahead, Mr. Chairman.
sir. Go
With
right ahead.
timber projects. This is bid 2021-02. This is the rebid for the timber for the clearing out at the Public Works facilities, approximately 13 acres. This first bid is from Bellow Wood Forest Products. $10,282. The This next bid is from Scruggs Timber Company. $23,380.74. However, they have an asterisk here. Trying to read what their asterisk indicates. Okay. We included the requirement that they have to remove all clearing on the site should be completed within 45 days of bid award. And there is an attachment here stating basically what's going on with the timber company. And basically what it boils down to is I will get the job done as fast as I am allowed. So my recommendation to council at this point is to award the bid to Scruggs Timber Company with the caveat that you allow me to go back and speak with her and make sure, get an understanding of what she means by that, because the 45 days is going to be important.
What is that amount again, Mr. Brad?
$23,808.74.
Boy, that sure is a lot of difference than that 5,000 was before.
Yes, sir.
That almost paid for that change order you just changed order on that water line.
Mr. Chairman, if it's okay with you, if you'll allow me to do that, I don't want to hold it up.
Well,
any further.
we've heard y'all, your recommendation. I'm gonna ask, what's the pleasure of this council? Do we hear a motion for that?
Make a motion, we allow Scruggs to do this work pending our administrator's discussion with them as far as the time period.
We have a motion. Do we have a second? Do we have any discussion on this? With that, I'll ask for the roll call.
Mike Foltz. Tracy McDaniel. Tim Spencer.
Yay.
Hey,
Okay.
next will be about the gravel.
Yes, sir. This is 2021-01. We've got two bidders. The two we expect would be Vulcan and Sloan. This first one is from Vulcan.
Just
There's-
purchasing gravel?
This is for purchasing gravel and riprap and various
Okay.
other aggregate stone, various other things that we purchase. There's going to be several numbers on here. I'm going to take a look at it. The largest thing that we purchase, the most volume that we purchase, of course, is crush and run. Vulcan's price on that is $12 a ton. There are other things that we have in this bid: manufactured sand, Class A and Class B riprap, number 57 stone, and 3-inch surge stone. See how this Sloan compares. This one may be one that we have to go back and also analyze, and we would bring back to council. Yes, sir. I'm going to ask that prices are all over the place on all of these, so if you will allow me to go back and get with Roads and Bridges and Ms. Jones out there at Public Works, and we'll come back to council at the next meeting with a recommendation on this based on our analysis of these items.
Is that good with council? Next, we will hear from your administrative update.
Okay. Clear all this out of the way. In our budget this year, there was an item included for, and I mentioned it to you all in our budget discussions of Code Red. I'm going to ask Mr. Peeler if he will to come forward. Code Red is a reverse calling system. If you recall, when our 911 lines went out a couple of months ago, they were down for a couple of hours, and we actually accessed Code Red through the State Emergency Preparedness Division, which is how we've had to do that. And that really caused us a lot of concern because you have to jump through a whole lot of hoops in order to do that. Some of you got that call that night if you're signed up for Code Red. Call came in about 11:30 to your home phone, basically, well, not basically, but saying that 911 lines were down. If you have an emergency, call the non-emergency number, and it gave that number. We do not own or do not have rights to access Code Red, but we need it very badly. Code Red does a lot for us other than that, but it certainly helps in those type situations or where we need to get word out quickly. What we would not use this for is to tell everybody that, hey, there's an auction going on next week or whatever, something along those lines. It's a very serious thing that people have to sign up for in order for us to access them if we need them. Brandon, can you speak a little bit more to it regarding that and what all else it will do for us? Well, Code Red has a partnership with the National Weather Service, so not everybody has apps on their phone. Some people don't have smartphones. So anytime the county goes under a certain warning, thunderstorm warning, tornado warning, it's going to send a text out. It'll give us the ability to, on our business cards or on our website, be able to put, if you live in Cherokee County, text this number to this number to stay informed of what goes on in Cherokee County as far as weather and things like that. If we have any type of evacuations due to, God forbid, a tanker or anything like that, that we had to do, it also gives us the ability to tap into emergency, all iPhones and Androids, called iPhone, for emergency alerting, and we'll be able to say, if we're in this area, we'll evacuate that area based on where you're from. If you recall, when we had a lot of West Nile viruses when I first got here, and we were going to have to spray in a certain area, and we had to contact people within a mile radius of where that particular bird was found, this would allow us to do that. I think you can zero in certain addresses, so you can make it only call people in certain addresses. It's just a very critical tool and a very useful tool that we currently don't have in our arsenal. Again, it's a budgeted item, and what I'm coming to you for tonight, it's approved through the state contract. Code Red is the name of it. I'm asking for your approval for me to enter into that contract. The contract as it sits is $11,000 annually, and again, that's part of the emergency preparedness budget.
Is that tariff money is what you're saying?
No, sir, it is not paid with tariff money. Tariff money can only be used on radios, so this is part of our general fund budget. And it is included in the budget this year.
Do I hear a motion for this recommendation?
I'll make a motion so we can get some discussion on that.
Do I hear a motion? Do I hear a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. I'm going to open it up for discussion.
I think it's a pretty important thing to if you think about the emergencies, the tornadoes. I mean, it seems like that we more and more of those type warnings, lately, and maybe you alert someone and they can take shelter if they don't get a weather alert. Of course, I get weather alerts, on my phone, but like you said, don't have smartphones and things like that. I think it might be a tremendous asset to the taxpayers and providing this notice, to them. I think that might be a very important part of this,
I'm going to say this, $11,000 for the safety of these citizens in this county. It's no question in my opinion. That's where I'm at.
This is recurring, correct?
It would be an $11,000 a year subscription. It's basically a subscription service, yes, sir. It requires a lot of setup on our end. They do a lot of the legwork for them, but we do for us, but we do have to do some things, and the citizens have to sign up for it. That's correct.
They do have to sign up, but then there again, they may already be signed up through other avenues. Because Code Red has the ability to get numbers from other angles. And I just want to go back just a second. You know, you talk about when the 911 outage happened, it was a phone call. Not everybody got that phone call. But if we can start sending texts, emails, phone calls, by us having it, we'll be able to get a confirmation, and we'll see how many people, how many thousands of people it actually reached. Then we can, you know, figure out what we need to do, where we need to drive public education. You know, this is something that law enforcement, fire, everybody can hand out.
So we'd probably have some kind of advertising budget that would have to be attached to this also.
Well, I believe we can handle that side of it. We can do it through our social media pages, between.
Mr. Hilliard can help us with that.
That's correct. They can, and they usually are very good with us as far as writing some stories like that. It's a public safety thing. I'm sure 911 has their own Facebook page. We'll put it on the county Facebook page. We can, you know, I don't know that we go do mail outs and things like that, but maybe we look at that. You know, it's not too expensive to do those sorts of things, but I'm hoping that with all the tie-ins that Code Red already has, does it tie to Smart 911? It does not pull in from there.
What percentage do you think we have, Brandon? That received Code Red in this county?
How many got that call that night? It was several thousand.
And it was just a voice call, it wasn't a text. And this is I mean, once they sign up one time, they get it. You know, it doesn't matter what carrier they're on. So I mean, it's really good for us, weather. Because I mean, not everybody is in distance of the fire sirens. Not everybody can hear those.
So you're basically saying for this to work, people got to sign up to make it work.
And believe it or not, I'm telling you, people would, just by our Facebook and things that we have several thousand. And we do PR events, churches and things like that. That's some things that we're prepared to go to churches, and then it's just a simple bulletin slip in.
So is it a written form application, or you call and you're logged in?
Just text it, and then we would be willing to help them as well for people that can't do it. We'd be willing to do it for them.
Okay, well, that's the key, because some of the senior people that need it the most are the ones that need help to do it.
And I think our volunteer fire departments will get involved. They understand the importance of this also. So I think if they get involved and start, you know, communicating with their constituents in their areas, that would certainly help also.
About going through the school system. I mean, you have over 8,000 students there. I know about 4 years ago, that tornado hit about 3:25. We'd let the kids out and had to get them back in. I got the warning on my phone. That was a scary time. I know my son was on a bus at that time coming from to Gaffney High School, and you know, that's just a lot of people through the school system. I know that we use Alert Now, which I guess is about, I mean, we can send text.
It's very similar to what they do, yes, sir.
Yeah, but anyway, that's just another avenue to get out. I mean, that's not going to hit elderly people that don't have kids in the system, but it's still
And that
a lot of people.
comes with a notification outside of that, where we can build a notification tree for the school district and different people that we can also go back and forth with from emergency services to them.
Yeah, that's good.
So the 11,000 encompasses any growth in that number, correct?
The 11,000 gets us
I
a
mean-
certain number of minutes per year, if I recall.
Based on,
It's unlimited now, that's right. We're going with that plan. We're going with the unlimited plan.
is it, how many uses, how many users? Does it have a limit on that?
No, let's see, notification, subscription fee, number of units. If you go over a certain amount, it would be reset. We get 7,000 message units for the first 62 days, and then message units will be reset to 41,000 messages per year. And that's what we've reacted to, so
41,000?
41,000.
And what are we anticipating? Sending out 12, 15,000? What's your
I
numbers?
hope we don't do 41,000. We've had a really bad year if we do 41,000.
No, I'm saying, how many are you looking to get on the list?
As many as we can. I don't know that we've had a target, do we?
And that's the reason why we looked at unlimited
That's why we went with unlimited, but the 41,000 is the message units that's set. But I think well, I know the 10,500 gets a, hold on a minute, let me find it, Mr. Little. Notification subscription includes unlimited message units for emergency notifications. Emergency means immediate threat to life or property. So if we go sending out things for something else that's not an emergency, which we're not going to, our whole purpose in this is public safety. So if we're public safety, threat to life and or property, then it is unlimited. But if we go advertising yard sales or church events, something like that, then we're limited on the number.
You can cover a certain zone, let's say if there's a tornado in the Draytonville community, I mean, just to warn those people, or is it all or nothing?
We generally go all or nothing on that, don't we?
Pretty much, right now, the warning is gonna go across the entire county. But we would have the ability to isolate certain messages through alcohol, which is a partnership with them.
What we do currently, like when we had the tornado just a couple months back, which was affecting, basically it went down through the center of the county. We set off all the sirens. We don't pick and choose. We feel like it's better to be cautious for everybody because you just don't know which way they're going. So we would go all, but we could zero in on certain things if we had to. One of the big things that we deal with here that nobody ever thinks about is the nuclear area that we're in. So we're always aware of that. We do a lot of training, but that could affect all of the county, or it could only affect an eastern portion of the county and so forth. So that's one of the things that I've looked at with that.
Any further discussion? With that, I'll ask for the roll call.
Mike Foltz. McDaniel. Tim Spencer.
Here.
Ray Little.
Yay.
Lyman Dawkins. David Smith.
At our last meeting, gentlemen, you all, we opened the RFQs for the Community Vision and Strategic Action Plan, which we included in the budget this year to do. I included in your packet as requested, a summary of those folks who submitted. I'm coming to you tonight with the recommendation that we enter into an agreement, that you all allow me to negotiate with and enter into an agreement with the Palladian Group out of Spartanburg. We had several qualified submittals. There were two that stood out above all the rest. And when it comes down to it, the Palladian Group's knowledge of our area and our county, their ties to our county, we're already doing business with them in several other manners. They were the group that helped us with the marketing of the Gaffney Fire Protection Area referendum. They are handling our social media, our website design, so they're familiar with Cherokee County. The folks who work for them are familiar with Cherokee County. And so my recommendation is that you all allow me to enter into an agreement with the Palladian Group in order to conduct this community vision and strategic plan process for us.
You've heard this recommendation. Do I hear a motion?
Second.
Is there any discussion with this?
So how does this play into the long-range planning?
This is the long-range plan.
That is part of the long-range plan?
It is the long-range plan, Mr. Folks, yes, sir. What we asked for was, of course, in the current environment that we're in, we've got to be very cognizant of having large meetings, people's reluctance to attend those, so there's a digital piece of it. Their proposal clearly demonstrates their ability to conduct meetings online with our steering committee. They've got a great layout for how they want the structure of the plan to go. It's a 6-month process, which we put in our RFQ that it had to be completed in 6 months. But they will basically facilitate those meetings. They will work with our individual committees that we're going to have set up to oversee this project. They're going to talk with you all when that time comes to get your vision, in addition to gathering results, gathering data, and then compiling the data from the community for what the community's vision is for our county for 15, 20 years from now.
They're working with all entities in this county.
Yes, sir, they will.
Blacksburg, Board of Public Works,
We
School
will-
Board,
we will
Jackson
include,
City Council.
Yes, sir, as well as all your other civic organizations, senior centers.
Chambers, Commerce, everybody.
Yes, everybody.
Everybody will be
Everybody.
represented.
Correct. That's
Okay.
the whole purpose, and that's why it's truly called a community vision as to what our citizenry and our organization and all those other organizations want our county to look like. And what I've told them is, as I've answered questions from folks who've submitted questions, it's got to be attainable. Don't tell me you want us to look like New York 6 months from now or Atlanta. I mean, it's got to be attainable. It's got to be good, solid visions that's got a good strategic plan behind it as to how we're going to get there. So that's my recommendation, Mr. Chairman.
I would only suggest we find a common name for the project. Community vision, long-range planning, something that where everybody's gonna be able to relate to what you're talking about instead of changing. I mean, you're talking about going in with a group, and then I was like, well, what connection would they have with long-range plan? So let's find something that everybody can correlate with to say, hey, this is what I'm tied to. This is the county's long-range vision for the county. With each one of these groups that's gonna be recognized in this.
Part of what they're doing and part of what I put in the RFQ is they have to brand the plan. So they've got to come up with a title for the plan. I mean, it's a big to-do, and in order for everybody to understand it, I'm just throwing this out. I mean, whether we call it Cherokee 2035 or something along those lines so that everybody who's involved knows that that is what that is. Long-range plan was just the very basic term that was used, Mr. Folks, when Mr. McDaniel brought it up. And that's what it is in its simplest form, but it's truly a vision for the county, and at the same time, it's a strategic plan of how to achieve that vision. So we will have a branding aspect of it where it'll have its own name, it'll have all those sorts of things, so it's a big process.
All I would ask is that we approach this with an equity mindset, because we do have a lot of disparities in this county, and whatever we do with this project, it can help assist and alleviate these disparities through an equity mindset. So I would like to see this plan.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Do you got no 2 in there?
They will be. I mean, I
They're
don't
a
have
huge
that
part.
entire.
We've done a lot with no 2. I just
Yeah,
hope
absolutely.
that they work hand in hand together.
Mr. Little, I think you'll be hard pressed to name an organization that we will not include. I'm not telling you, I have not compiled that list, but there's going to be a steering committee of a group of folks with.
Are these going to be, who's going to pick this? Who's going to pick these people?
The steering committee will be by me, informing you guys you gentlemen, as to who would be put on there. It will be community leaders, people who have an interest in this county growing in a responsible manner and in a manner that will improve the quality of life and the way this county looks.
That's very important.
Absolutely. I agree with you, Mr. Little, and it is of the utmost importance that we put the right people on that community. On that committee. And then based on that committee will then, of course, you all will be giving me feedback as we go along as to what maybe the 5 areas that they're going to focus on. I mean, quality of life. That includes recreation. It includes economic development. It includes various other things. It may be that once this committee gets together and they start talking, I'm just throwing things out. Transportation may be a part of it, but once they pick the 5 sectors that they're going to focus on that defines the county government, or not the county government, but the county life, then based on those, then we'll start talking to people who that directly have input on those things. For example, let's just say if transportation was one of them, if everybody on that steering committee agrees that there's a need to address transportation for elderly or for low-income people in this county, then you're gonna include folks like Habitat for Humanity would be involved in that. You would have the senior center involved in that. You would have Council on Aging involved in that. Just various other groups that might have anything to do with that particular subject matter. You would have them involved. I envision having church groups involved at some level. Any civic-minded organization in the county, I believe, will have a piece of input into this document.
You think you can get this done in 6 months?
That's what I've asked, and that's what 9 groups say they can do.
I'm going to tell you this, and I know this council's heard this 100,000 times. We don't have no plan. I've heard that from the city. I've heard it from everybody, all the entities around here. They've always screamed that. So I applaud you, Tracy, for coming up with this, because this is our plan, and Cherokee County's paying for it. So I hope that all the entities involved step to the plate and don't keep screaming we don't have a plan, because we have one now, and everybody needs to give their input.
Yes, sir.
Is there any more discussion? With that, I'll ask for the roll call.
Mike Foltz. Tracy McDaniel. Tim Spencer.
Yay.
Little. Lyman Dawkins. David Smith.
Anything else, Mr. Bratton?
That's all. At the end, I would request a short executive session.
Yes, sir. Do we have any appointments? Sure you want to go at the end, Smitty?
I'm going.
I'd rather do you now before executive session. Go ahead, Mr. Smith.
Weekend, I was at a travel tournament, and we played travel ball for the past 5 years, and rec ball as well with my 2 sons. The different thing about this travel tournament was it was in Gaffney. I've never played in Gaffney before. In these 5 years, we've played at Tiger River and AB, Red Owens and Easley, Tiger Rivers and Duncan. We played in Greenville, but never have played in Gaffney. And that got me thinking, when did this complex start? I was coaching in my previous coaching life back in the mid-90s, and I remember starting at Irene and Mayberry. Dennis coached against you, and then Fuller Field was built. Of course, it wasn't Fuller Field at the time, but it was built. So I looked in archives and saw that on June the 15th, 1994, that Councilman stresses need for youth sports complex. Well, that was Charles Mathis that made that, and that was in an article that Larry Hilliard wrote. And 3 months later, they had a 8-person committee that was formed, several key members from the community. And then 6 months after that, a site was selected. March 3rd of '95, that site was selected. 2 months later, they had a goal of $350,000 that they were trying to get from the community. September the 18th, the Ledger reported in 1996, another article written by Mr. Hilliard, $400,000 had been donated for the project. And Mr. Mathis, he didn't say this on June the 15th, the Ledger reported it, but the irony, June the 15th, 1999, 5 years to the day, that field was dedicated at a ceremony. We have got to put more in recreation. We have got to quit saying it's us, it's them. I know we have this strategic plan. I have to take my mask off. But seriously, it is. We have got to quit saying. I've heard this on council for the past 4 years. We're not calling anybody out, but hey, that's a rec's problem. The rec's got to handle that. But we are on a gold mine. I mean, we're at 85 location. You cannot, and Mr. Joe Mathis can attest to this, you cannot get to many other ball fields from here. Now, because they're off the beaten path. We're on 85. I mean, there is no better location. this weekend, I talked to Johnny Humphreys, and I said, Johnny, give me some numbers. So he's had a tournament. He's going to have a tournament in Gaffney. Now, it's not all baseball. It's a lot of softball, too. From June the 20th, that's when they were allowed to do it, through October. Again, we are sitting on a gold mine, but we have got to put some money into recreation. We have got to. Because what we could do up there at that ball field, if we lengthened the fields, made them larger, new fencing, increased dugout size, put bullpens in, it'd be a game changer. Because, see, you can't buy land on 85 to build complexes. They're just not there. So this little bit of sprucing up would make a big difference. And I know we've talked about other things before with recreation, but I'm tired of sitting back and I sit through one term. And that was one of my big things on my platform. And it's not about me and get my platform checking off. It's not a checkoff list. But it's sad that we don't do enough for recreation. And in my time, we had one millage increase, and I can't, Mr. Little, you recommended it. And it was 0.6 or 0.4, I can't remember what it was. But, you know, if you don't invest in it, you're not going to get a return from it. And, Mr. Bratton, do you know if this is Opportunity Zone, that land up there?
It actually is. Hyatt Street, a large portion of that is in an opportunity zone.
What could that do for us? Not to put you on the spot.
It would allow a lot of public-private partnerships to occur that may not have occurred otherwise. Certainly something that I can talk with some folks about, but an opportunity zone allows, I think most of you gentlemen are aware of it. It's a tool that was put in place by Senator Tim Scott just a couple of years ago, which allows for private investment in underserved areas, and that area was designated as an underserved area. And that would allow for a public-private partnership wherein some folks could put some money together in an opportunity fund and invest in some facilities there. That's a possibility to fund a lot of improvements there possibly.
Well, we had a group of individuals, and I think COVID slowed them down, and they came and spoke to us, you know, that night about building new ball fields and building gymnasiums. But, you know, we had teams from Greenville to Charlotte, Matthews, North Carolina. Why? Because we're on 85. We're in the middle of it. And again, if you've never dealt with travel ball, and it's not just about travel ball, because if you build something like this, or if we improve what we have, then our residents and our citizens, our kids are still going to benefit from it. You know, they don't have to play travel ball to play there, because you're still going to have recreation throughout the week. And there's some issues there. I'm not going to get into that, but I mean, there were some issues at the field. The tournament ran great. The rec did a great job this weekend. Those guys worked all weekend long, which was a sacrifice. But again, 5 years from June 15th, 94 to 99, we don't need to wait 5 years. We can't wait on a group in the community saying we need to do this. You know, this is something that I just want council to look at hard, because we have got to invest in our kids. And doing it through recreation's a huge, huge avenue. So that's what I wanted.
I wholeheartedly agree with you, but I'm going to say this. Shouldn't this strategic plan be big time in this?
Yes, sir, that would be included. Absolutely.
I mean, I think we should be able to get our answers. I don't know if us 7 or 6, could figure it out like this plan should figure it out. Because I'm with you. I know we need more, but I don't know what we need, because the last time we did it, it failed. And they were scared to try it again because they couldn't agree on anything. First thing you got to have is agreement, what you need. And I've never seen a plan from them. I've never seen this. I've heard it, but I've never seen any form. Has any of y'all? Have you seen anything for them?
Hey, who are you talking about?
The board. The rec department has never sent us anything to say this is what we need that I'm aware of. Is that correct?
I haven't.
We did have the Clemson study thing they come in with several years ago. But I mean, the most recent, and I understand you talking about ball fields, David, the most recent thing I thought we were in dire need was a gymnasium.
Yeah, well, there's no doubt. Lyman,
Our middle schools.
I think that was a part of it when that group came. They talked about the gymnasium. I know that group. I know we're talking about the rec district. But all of it, we need to look at all of it. And I know the plan should address that because the last 5 years I officiated basketball from.
I think that's where we fall short. I was listening to David, and I was like, okay, let me think of the time since I've been here that it all fell apart. And it's because we couldn't build all of it at one time, or the operating budget didn't pass and the building budget did pass. Or, well, if they're not gonna build this part first, then I don't think I'm gonna vote for it because I don't want the ball fields first. I think that's where the wheels have always come off, about $12 million, $15 million of building it all at one time. People not being for it or misunderstanding the referendum. I think that was a big part of it. I don't know. I mean, I'm sitting here listening to David and I'm thinking, I thought gymnasiums was the dire need, the first and foremost, and then I agree with him. When I coached up there, same thing. Same conversation's been had for 15, 20 years.
yeah, which is awful. I mean,
Would go by the wayside and not even have operable bathrooms down there. I mean, I've never understood why we let a complex that we already have go. I mean, pretty much just because we got this up here and that's softball and that's churches, and just let the roof cave in on the place, pretty much. And, I just.
as far as Ford Road's concerned, I know there, is some church softball there, but they're expecting 46 teams this weekend, girls fast pitch, and they're going to use all 10 fields, 4 at Midway, 4 at Ford Road, Fuller Field, and then the Limestone or old Babe Ruth Field that we grew up with. So they are utilizing it, but and that comes down to bigger decisions, that we may need to make as a council one day. I mean, we need to utilize Ford Road.
I'm with you. Let's do what we have right. Then go forward with a plan of what we're gonna need to add to it. But we're not even doing what we have right on the ball fields out there, on where the gymnasium, if we can how to do a gymnasium, what we're doing with Ford Field, we're not even doing those effectively.
Just changing fencing at that ball field would change that whole place. Putting in brand new fencing, which extending the fields, and again, extending the dugouts are very small. I mean, it was built 20 years ago. Extending that would definitely help, and adding the bullpen. So that's just fencing. The land's there. That's not coming in and saying let's build a whole new complex. And you can put siding on that building up there, and the signage. I mean, the A, B, C, and D is terrible. I mean, it's tearing off. Those are original signs from 1999. Businesses I won't name, but they're still up there. And that's just that's an eyesore. I mean, people would talk about Gaffney through travel ball. I'm telling you, they would. Let's go to Gaffney and play. They got a great complex up there. It's jam up, But we're not putting our best foot forward, and that's where we're elected to make the decisions, and sometimes they're tough ones. But that's what I'm here to do. I want to make things better. I don't want to say, well, that's the way it was 15 years ago, and that's the way it's going to be. Or we can't do that. I mean, we're doing a disservice to this community, to this county, Gaffney and Blacksburg, if we take that mindset.
I'll say this, you got 2 options. Either we raise the millage or you leave it up to the people. Which avenue you want to go down?
I want to get it right. If it's raising millage, then that's what we need to do.
We're capped. You know that. Well, see, what puts us in a bind is the whole thing. If we're capped at 3 and we need it ourselves, we can't. We don't know where we're going to end up after next year, y'all.
Came and said, you have private donations available if there was a plan of what you were going to do. If you went forward with a plan, you have businesses and people that are committed to private donations to see these happen, but we never effectively go into the plan. They want to have a plan of what you're going to do with the money prior to me giving you the money.
Well, we always relied on Timken, and y'all know what's happened there. Timken's built everything in this community.
Again, they didn't name individuals, but Mr. Mathis, Charles, June 15th, so I guess in June the 14th, said we need to do this in 94, and September 96, there's over $400,000 raised, because there was a plan.
Them to come up with a plan to give to us?
Well, that's what we need. I mean, if that's what we need, that's what we need. I mean, if that causes people to come over the top and say, yep, I'm gonna give my money to this, you know, and it was in that same paper there, and I don't know, maybe if the community's changed or people just think differently now, but I read an obituary, a guy that had passed away that I knew in that same paper, and he wanted his money, you know, any donations go to the youth sports complex. You know, so it's a need, you know, it's a want, but it's a need. You have got to invest.
Discount the plan that group brought. I mean, is to go effectively into the plan and see where you could start that plan, whether it's the community center you want to do right now or do the ball fields first. I don't think you can totally discount what they went and found out. They spent a lot of time doing that, and I think I think people agreed on it. I think people.
But surely we
Away from $14 million and doing it all at one time, but.
live in a county though that would say, nah, we're not gonna do that. We're better off without it. You know, that would be.
I don't think you got that.
That'd be a sad day if that's the case.
I don't think you have that at all. So, are you driving at a motion to direct the appointed rec board to either bring us an updated plan, the original plan, some kind of plan, or what are you looking to do?
I was just looking to have this conversation right now. I mean, yeah, well, I can make a motion for the rec board to come with a plan and their future, their Cherokee. I don't want to be Cherokee 2035. It needs to be Cherokee 2022, you know.
Do you think this plan you're talking about will encompass what we need, or you think we need another plan?
My plan is going, the community vision and strategic action plan is going to be a holistic look at recreation. It's going to include multiple facets of that area, including parks, green space, broad
long
river,
range,
everything.
your short term.
I think Mr. Smith is looking more at short term, some things you could do to make an immediate impact. But I think, you know, if you start talking about the plan that was presented for the group that came, that is a large plan, a long range plan that I think we can take a look at and capitalize on possibly the location of our property, which is in an opportunity zone, to see if there's something we can put together that way, which is much better than raising millage. But maybe if I can, Mr.
Sounds like to me, and y'all tell me if I'm wrong, is this not a plan that you want to hear from the rec board on how they're going to maintain and upgrade and keep our facilities now? Is that what you're looking for? And then the long, huh?
Be a part of it, but I don't want to stop the thought, well, I don't know if we can maintain something like that. I mean, we got to figure out how we can maintain it.
And also, am I right, Mr. Smith is saying what upgrades could be made in the short term that could greatly enhance the use and utilization of that property?
Yes, there's no doubt about that. And I know fencing's major. I mean, it's just an eyesore now, guys. It was built in 99, and it hadn't been a thing done to it. I mean, the fences are rusting. I mean, it's an eyesore. And when you have, I mean, right here, the numbers, since June the 20th, 1,685 players, and Johnny says you figure 2.5 people per carload, okay? So that's 4,200 people that have come into our county. July the 11th, men's slow pitch softball, 555 players, and that was down at Ford Road. So they're coming in. Now, we had a game at 8:30 and 12, so we went to Bojangles at 8. But when I came back, there's Bojangles and Chick-fil-A and Clock, and I mean, they're spending money here. They're going to spend money, and it will boost the economy. It just will, but it'll bring people into our community is the big thing, and then they won't want to come back is another big thing. So it's a risk, but it's a calculated one. I mean, it's something that we know works. Tiger River is successful, and I'm not saying we're going to have a Tiger River, but they're playing every weekend. And easily, they're playing every weekend. And again, those ball fields aren't, you can't see those lights from the interstate. You're going to see our lights from the interstate. The location's the biggest thing we have. And it's just a shame, and I'm not saying we need 12 ball fields, but it's a shame that we haven't taken care or updated what we've had. I'm not saying, I mean, you can't do much with a fence that's rusting. You don't throw paint on it. I mean, it needs to be replaced. And just doing that fence would make a major difference in what you could have up there tournament-wise. Because it depends on how deep that fence is, which we have 200 field fences, and then the A fields, 285 maybe, 275. But you're limited as to what age groups can play there. Obviously, if you had big fields, you bring in temporary fences, and then you can have those kids play there too. But I like the plan that was brought, and again, the plan that was brought by the group, the whole community center plan. I think they had a lot of steam behind them, and I thought it was a good plan. And unfortunately, our pandemic we're in slowed them down. I don't know if they're going to pick it back up. I assume they will. But again, we're in a position that we can make some things happen right now. I know we can. We can make some things happen. Us six right here. I'm not talking about spending millions of dollars, but I mean we can put some forward to make a difference right now. I don't need the rec to tell me we can do it. I don't need the plating group to come in here and tell me you can do this. I know we can do it. We can do it right now.
Well, I'm going to say this, Mr. Smith. Why don't we just direct Mr. Bratton to go to the rec board and find out what's going on, what's feasible to do, and what we can do. What upgrades can be done. What priorities are they at right now with the facilities at hand? Okay? Is everybody good with that?
I have a question, Quay.
Go ahead, Tim.
Mr. Smith, I've been to Tiger River also, and I know what you're talking about. There's thousands of people over there. Have you ever asked anybody on their recreation department board over there or their council board, does all the revenue go to recreation or does some of it go to council? Because they've got millions of dollars in that facility.
Yeah, no, I've not asked that question where the revenue goes.
Well, that would be one thing I'd like to know here. I don't have a problem with upping our recreation because we definitely need it. If you go to other towns, I mean, it's unreal at some of their recreation facilities. But I mean, is it right for the taxpayers to fund it 100% and get none of the revenue, or does the rec department need to fund some of it if they're getting all the revenue?
No, but I mean, yeah, I understand what you're saying, but no, this investment wouldn't be, to me, we're not investing to make money. We don't make money off trash pickup, we don't make money off of recycling, but those are things we're not going to allow to stop.
Coming out of that Clemson study, and the guy that was over Parks and Recreation says you absolutely cannot look at recreation as revenue. It has to be a reinvestment in a lifestyle and a certain thing that you want to put into your community. You cannot look at recreation as a matter of revenue. It has to be upgrading the lifestyle of young people in your community to play team sports and grow character. It cannot be a matter of revenue. You've missed the whole boat. He made that.
These tournaments happen.
I understand that, but y'all still not understanding what I'm saying. If the recreation department gets 100% of the revenue, just say that somebody from Tiger River, I'm just going to call him John Doe, he wants to rent out Cherokee County's fields to have a travel ball team. If he rents it, say for, and I don't know what the rental is, but if it's $200 a field and there's 4 fields, that's $800 for a weekend. If he makes $8,000, does that go to John Doe or does that go to Recreation Department? I don't want it going to an individual is what I'm saying.
That better not happen.
Travel tournaments, I mean, they bring in the teams, And they charge an admission, and yeah, they get that money there. I mean, it's, but again, and I'm not sure how much would go back to recreation. If there's enough to even pay their employees for the weekend, and it's a savings there. But I'm not gonna, we're not building this to make one man rich or two men rich. We're building this to, are trying to improve this to make our community better. And I'll never, not want to do something because you might have an organization or two that's going to make some money off of it. I mean, that, if you have the facilities, same thing as having gymnasiums. I mean, you would have, you can speak more to, that's not that red alert, is it?
It's a bad storm going on.
Yeah. You can speak more to basketball, but it's the same situation. I mean, you would have travel basketball, and I've never dealt with that, but you can talk.
Same premise. Same premise.
I think I understand what you're saying, Tim. You're saying if we put money from the county into the rec department, which they have their own tax base, what return are we going to get from it? Is that what you're driving at?
Well, no, Quay, I've heard numerous times that other people can rent those fields and have tournaments. I don't care what the recreation makes, as long as the recreations are getting 100% of the funding of the profits. I understand what Smitty's saying as far as paying out the
That's not how the
individual.
tournaments work.
But
No,
if there's any bulk of money made, it ought to go to recreation department, and then that way they can keep up and maintain and maintenance whatever they have out there.
Tim, whatever organization is running the tournament, that's who's going to get the revenue from the tournament. The rec department is going to get whatever they charge.
Fields.
Maybe they may get the gate as well. I don't know. Whatever they.
The rec department could run the concession. You have a lot of money through concessions there, so there's ways for them to make revenue there.
And Mr. Spencer, that's why you set your rental price at the right amount to make sure that you're covering your cost and so forth. But the ones putting on the tournament, I believe, are the ones assuming the risk and so forth. So they're the ones providing trophies and the prizes and so forth. So.
Well, I'll say this, and this is, everybody knows this. The one that you were talking about, profit to gain, is the city. They have the 2-cent hospitality tax that they get off the food. And I would implore them to give some of that money to the rec department. And that hasn't happened. I don't know. I think they give them $15,000 a year, if that's my understanding, from that money. I don't know exactly what they give them. I don't know if that's correct or not, but that's where it's really at, and y'all all know that in here. We know who gets the money from the people coming into this community for these things, but I don't want to not bring those people here. I think that's one of the things we have got to do is get more people here and coming through this community. And if the city reaps benefits from it, more power to them.
No doubt, Mama's going to come to that game too. And there's a 2-hour break, because there always is. Very rarely you're going to have back-to-back. She's going to go over there to that mall. That's going to happen. Now, we're not making this up. That's going to happen. And just the convenience of the location makes all the difference, because when you're at Tiger River, you go to Zaxby's, but you're not going to go to the mall. It's not going to happen. Or go to the theater. That's right there, too, at the Big E. So, again, we can keep beating this around, but we're not gonna let it die. I'm just not. This is close to my heart. I know it is Lyman's too, and I know everybody in here wants recreation to go well in this county, and kids to have a chance and build character, and to have a nice place to play. Why should we have to go 45 miles up the road to have something nice? We should. So, rest my case there.
Thank you, Mr. Smith. Next, I'll turn it over to unless anybody else has anything. Next, I'll turn it over to Mr. Joe Mathis.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The administrator requests a motion to go in executive, 2 matters, pursuant to 3470A2, discussion of negotiations incident to a proposed contractual arrangement, and actually pursuant to section 3470A1 for a personnel matter in the administration.
Do I hear a motion?
Second.
We have a
Motion and second. Any discussion? With that, I'm gonna ask for the roll call.
Mike Folks. Tracy McDaniel. Tim Spencer.
Yay.
Ray Little. Lama Dawkins. David Smith.
We stand Mr. Mathis.
Mr. Chairman, a motion will be in order to return to regular session from executive session. Madam Clerk, let the record reflect no action was taken in executive session.
Hear a motion. We have a motion and a second. I'm going to ask for the roll call.
Mike Folks. Tracy McDaniel. Tim Spencer.
Yay.
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 Well, is there any old, new, or other business? With that, we stand adjourned.